All right, what is going on, everyone? We are live. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Welcome back if you're returning. My name is Gerardo, creator of LookIntoHex.com. We have a very special guest today, a real estate mogul, can I say? A crypto enthusiast, has probably the best background of anyone I've streamed with. Beautiful, beautiful spot you're at right now. Really nice view. But go ahead and introduce yourself, Austin Rutherford.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you having me on. Austin Rutherford. Been in real estate about seven to 8 years now. Done a little bit of everything from flips, new construction, wholesales, rental properties. Own almost 100 rental properties as of today, and got into crypto about a year and a half ago, and it's I've loved it. I've loved it ever since. So that's kind of what I do now. Real estate, cryptocurrencies, and then have a decent size following on social media influencer, whatever you want to call it. So appreciate you having me
That's
on.
Dude, my pleasure, man. That's huge. 100 rental properties. I want to ask about the stress levels associated with that and how you're able to manage that. Because that, like, you obviously talk about real estate, but I'm interested in the human side of like, how does a human handle that kind of weight? And well, you got into crypto, you said 1.5 years ago. So that to me sounds like really pretty good timing,
For
right? Like
sure.
before the crazy run ups, or I hope so. But yeah,
Yeah,
let
no,
me go live with you on Insta as well, real quick.
I think I just invited you, but what's
There
good,
we go.
brother? So so got into crypto. Like I bought Bitcoin. I started buying Bitcoin at like 7 grand, Ethereum at like $350, Cardano at like 4 or 5 cents, Hex at 8 tenths of a penny. So I kind of
Let's
got in
go.
right before the run up, which was great.
Yeah,
So yeah, it was kind of perfect timing.
that is perfect timing. So you mentioned a few coins there, actually. I was joining the live once you were mentioning them. You said, I heard Cardano in there, I heard Hex in there. What were the other two?
Bitcoin at like 7 grand, and then Ethereum at like 350.
Oh, nice, nice. So out of all four of those, are you allowed to say which one was your best performer?
Hex by far.
Hex by far.
Yeah, Hex and Cardano, just because I bought in so early. I mean, Hex is
Yeah.
my biggest holding as of today.
Interesting, interesting. Did it just become your biggest holding because it ran up so much, or was it like
That definitely helped
that
it,
definitely helped? Yeah.
coming in, getting a 30, 40, 50x, whatever it is.
Right.
But and I've, put serious money behind it since then. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
the faster, more I went down the rabbit hole of it, continue to pump more money into it. So it's probably
Feel
like the
that.
second biggest coin of my money actually invested into it.
Dang, nice. And it's cool of you to like just be open about that because I feel like a lot of big influencers, they hold Hex, but they do so privately. They don't talk about it. And it's like, okay, like why wouldn't you guys want to help your audience? Like just be fully transparent about what you're doing. I don't know.
For
So I
sure.
do respect that, man, because you're one of few that actually have like a lot to lose out there. You have big, your name's big out there. You're doing big things and you're open about your investments that I don't know why, but Hex is controversial. And you're like, screw
Very
that.
good.
Like, this is me, man. It's very respectable.
For sure, man. No, I mean, part of the reason I got into it, I found you on YouTube, and a lot of your, early content, is about it, and it went down your rabbit hole. Obviously started
Mhm.
listening to Richard Hart and stuff,
Yeah.
and like you said, there's controversy on it, but I mean, there's controversy in everything. Like I get pushback in real estate. They're like, well, why do you buy rentals? Like, what if the property goes vacant? Like, property goes vacant, it goes vacant. It's just part of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's positives and there's downfalls to everything in life.
True that, man. Let's touch on that though. The 100 rental properties you own. Like, I want to know, how does one get to that point? Like, is it the typical, like you start small a little bit and then it's like exponential? Is it like just linear, just grinding? Or you just like an animal and just grind every day? Or like a mixture of both? Or, and then
Yeah, no,
obviously like the human stress levels that come with that and how you manage all that.
no, for sure. So I don't the exact number is somewhere between like 70 and 80 rentals. So
Nice.
it's something I've been buying. The first, how I got into real estate is I bought a duplex when I was 20 years old. So that was kind of like my intro into real estate. And I always fell in love with the idea of passive residual income. That's what I really wanted, which is
Right,
rental
right.
properties. But over the years, I'd buy a couple duplexes, some single family houses. I own a couple smaller apartment complexes, some 8 units, some 6 units, a bunch of doubles, bunch of singles, and bought an 18 single family houses at one purchase on December 30th, so just about 2 months ago. But it's been cool. Scaling has been great. I use something called the Burr method, so like buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So there's a way to do real estate without using any of my own money. And then as far as like the management, buying the houses is cool. Like the management is the hard part. You know what I mean? So I have a property management team back home. I got a team of contractors back home. I have people that manage the Airbnbs back home. But people say like it's passive income. It's not necessarily so passive. It's got a lot of benefits that cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, and all that stuff. But as far as like the passiveness of it, there's a lot of headaches that comes with the game. So honestly, that's a big reason why I like crypto, because like it's what I've seen, it is the most passive income that you can create, because you literally click a button and if you stake it or you put it in liquidity or whatever it is, like you can make real money just by sitting there looking at it. So that's kind of why I fell in love with the idea of crypto. And the funny thing when I talk to people is like a lot of crypto people are like, I want real estate, and then the real estate people are like, I want crypto. And I've argued in my own head many times about selling my entire portfolio and putting it all into crypto. A lot of times I haven't yet. I did liquidate like 10 properties to go into crypto, but I believe in the space, but I don't know if I want to put every penny that I have to my name into the space.
That's smart. That's smart, because you want to be hedged to some degree, right? In case there's some catastrophic event, like even though these are unlikely catastrophic events, but like all crypto could go to zero at any moment. We get 80-90% flash crashes. If you look at the chart, they're just like, that's just in the game. And in real estate, it's like, sure, it doesn't appreciate as much as crypto, but it doesn't have these 80% flash crashes, like these wicks all the way down to like, I don't know if you remember, but like during this run up of ETH, I think when it was crossing like 1,000 or 1,400 again this cycle, it had like some crazy wick down to like 600 on Kraken or something. Like a bunch of people got liquidated. So you see these huge liquidation events. Yeah. So it's smart of you to be hedged and not go all in on one space. And I do see what you're saying, how like the crypto people are like trying to get into real estate people trying to get into crypto. So that's pretty interesting.
For sure. How'd you get into crypto like way back? Like what sparked your interest originally?
Yeah, so I was similar to you, like passive income started interesting me when I was in college. I was flopping around a bunch of STEM majors, math, physics, engineering physics, and I was dabbling with a bunch of stuff on the side, working out. So fitness became like huge passion of mine during that time. I see you're into that too with some of the buddies on Instagram. So fitness, I was doing school, and then the passive income started interesting me because, I was tutoring math at the time, and sure that pays a little bills here and there, but like I was like, I don't want to like trade my time for money, the usual. And I found out about Bitcoin, Ethereum, all those during the 2017 run up because I was interested in all of this, and I saw them just start tearing. I saw Bitcoin go to 10, 12, 14K, all the way to 20K. Like I was there during that whole little bubble. And so that's what got me interested, when basically FOMO, right? When everyone was FOMOing in and the peak was happening, exchanges were being saturated to the point where they were crashing. They couldn't accept new signups. And like, that's when Bitcoin Cash came out. I don't even want to utter that name, but that's when it came. It was like, bro, it was like $4,000 at the time. That's crazy. It never went back, by the way. It's like, it just keeps bleeding versus Bitcoin ever since. I think it made new lows recently versus Bitcoin. Just terrible. But yeah, just goes to show that I was there back in the day. Definitely not like a 2013 OG, but yeah, that's when I was getting my feet wet with crypto, and it's kind of my introduction to it.
Yeah. I put $500 into Bitcoin in 2017, and then it crashed, and I was like, forget crypto. And then 3.5 years later, I was like, all right, let's do this again.
Hey, that's better than me, man. I put like 6 grand, and then it crashed. So it's like, as a college student, that's a lot of money, right? Like,
For
it's a lot of
sure.
money as a college student. So I was like, wrecked. So I had to go back to the normal grind, just find like normal jobs, and it's part of the experience. I consider it like my initiation into crypto. Just kind of like you enter a frat house, you get destroyed real quick, and then things are kind of better after that. Yo, my Instagram kind of went funny. People said they're having an echo, so I think I left
Yeah,
on accident.
that's what I saw on there too.
Do you want me to rejoin, or you good with just this?
I think we're going to get an echo if it's still, but
Okay.
on both of them right now.
Hmm.
I don't know
All
if there's
right,
a way.
we'll do one. Yeah, yeah. So this video I titled it just kind of clickbaity, like crypto or real estate, but definitely your answer would be along the lines of both.
Yeah, like both. So like I always make the comparisons, right? And so I talk to like a lot of real estate groups and conferences about
Mhm.
crypto. And there's four reasons people buy real estate. It's for the appreciation, property going up in value. It's for
Mhm.
the depreciation, where you can save money in taxes on. You can lose money on paper, but make money in
Mhm.
real life. So that's a huge benefit.
Mhm.
And then you get the tenant mortgage buy down. So every time you make a mortgage payment, the rent goes down, and the cash flow. So you can make rental income from it. So those are the four reasons people buy and love real estate. And then when you kind of compare it to crypto, there's three of the four that you have in the crypto space. So you have the potential appreciation.
Mhm.
You can make cash flow, if you stake it or do the right things with it. And you can leverage it. You can borrow against it as well.
Mhm.
So you have the same things except the depreciation, the tax benefits, which don't get me wrong, like that's massive. Like I save a lot of money
Mhm.
every year from the depreciation in real estate. But besides that, like the biggest ones that people like it for is the appreciation and the cash flow, and you get those on both sides. So
Mhm.
I've I'm split. My wealth is probably 50-50 between the two, between crypto and real
Nice.
estate. Probably a little bit more on real estate right now, but I've been in it longer. But I argue with a lot of guys, and I'm from the real estate world, and everybody wants crypto. So like I'm kind of leaning that way. But like we
Mhm.
said earlier, it's kind of flip flopped from people in the crypto space, leaning into the real estate world. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What are your thoughts? Do you own any real estate, or do you want to?
Interesting. Interesting. I don't. But I'd love to.
Got
I'd
you.
love to. But no, that's a really good point. I love how you broke it down from a fundamental perspective. And you said these are the points they share in common: the appreciation potential, the ability to borrow against them, the cash flow, and you mentioned the one that crypto lacks, which real estate has, which is ability to have tax write-offs against the depreciation. Very, very good way of framing it. For the appreciation potential, we talked a bit about this just a few minutes ago. Like crypto kind of whoops real estate's ass in that one regard. For the for the cash flow aspect, you brought up staking, and we mentioned Hex earlier, which that's one of the I would say that's the premier staking experience. And I'd even argue a lot of these staking coins modeled after Hex, and I see a lot of projects that start kind of taking inspiration and little things from Richard Hart projects all over the
Yeah,
place. I'm not gonna like name drop some of these, but a recent one that like had a lot of hype and it was on another chain. It was they even mentioned Hex in their like whole little spiel. They're like, yeah, we're
yeah,
taking the best of Hex and the best of this, and like it changed the space. Hex changed the space. It appreciated a ton. It
yeah,
you can stake it, so it creates that potential of cash flow.
yeah,
You can stake it for anywhere from a day all the way to 15 years, and you get different interest rates on that, similar to time deposit at the bank. And yeah, so that's the cash flow aspect of something like Hex. And the creator of Hex actually launching, you probably know, PulseChain,
for
PulseX,
sure.
the premier DEX on PulseChain, similar to Uniswap. So we have an Ethereum fork and a Uniswap fork coming, hopefully in the next few months. But are you allowed to share if you sacrifice for those?
For sure. And, yeah, no, I went big on both of them.
I'm big
So
on both. Yes.
yeah, I'm definitely a believer in those as well. I'm just waiting for it to launch.
Same, man. Same. It's nuts. It'll be a whole new ecosystem, new communities, new marketplaces, new decks, new coin, new game theory. Like the space is growing, and it's really cool to see. Like all sorts of people come into this space. People like yourself from real estate, I even see actors, athletes, freaking like all walks of life, which is amazing. And it makes you think like, is crypto here to stay? It's looking like it more every day. Back when I joined in 2017, I probably couldn't say that for sure. There was a lot of speculation still, a lot of, oh, institutions are coming, like was the meme forever. But now it's like, oh, people are in, and it's still kind of small though. So it's cool to see that even with all that growth, like there's, in my opinion, still a lot of potential for crypto to just keep going.
I mean, I don't think crypto is any longer a matter of if. I think it's
Okay.
here to stay. It's just a matter
Right.
of like how long it takes, right? You know, there's
Mhm.
going to be people that try and get in the way. There's going to be shutdowns. There's going to be people trying to restrict it, talking down on it. The only question for me, you know, does it take 2 years for mass adoption or 15 years for mass adoption?
Hmm.
That's my opinion. You know, I bet very heavily on it, so I'm a little bit biased, but everything makes sense when you look at the actual real world use cases behind it. Like it's actually trying to solve real world problems. You know, people that come from the real estate space think that like all cryptocurrencies are like currencies, but like they're not. They're like businesses or people trying to solve like actual things that happen in the day to day real world, and basically trying to get rid of the middleman. And you know, that's
Right.
where a lot of things go wrong, and that's why you know I kind of believe in the space. So I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's a matter of if at this point any longer at least. And like if you compare it to the like the stock market, like there's all types of figures out there in the stock market, but you know let's just use a figure of $100 trillion. Uh, I think I lost you. You still there?
Can you hear me still?
Yeah, your video froze, but I can
Yeah, I
hear you.
noticed that. Super weird. And it froze at like the worst, least flattering image file.
That's funny.
All right,
But
yeah, yeah, keep going. Good thing we can still hear each other.
For sure. So the stock exchange, you know, there's different figures out there, anything from like 50 trillion to 200 trillion. But let's just use it, you know, somewhere in the middle of $100 trillion. The crypto market's like $2-ish trillion. So like there's a 50x, you know, potential just within that alone. You know, I listened to Raul Paul, and
Yeah.
you know, he made the example. He's like, if you don't believe in crypto, but you take 5% of your net worth and put it into crypto, and then if crypto does what people believe they think it's going to do, then that 5% can 3x your entire portfolio. So
Right.
I wasn't around in the internet boom, but you
Hmm.
know, people I talk to, like to me, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like I think we're blessed
Agreed.
to be in this time and age because I don't think we're going to get another chance like this.
It's a great point. It's a matter
Besides,
of what's that? It's not a matter of when, but or if, but when is what you're
you know,
saying.
that's my
And
thought. And
we're good.
I'm about to tag you on Instagram. What's your Instagram at again?
Right on. It's just Gerardog,
Uh-huh.
GERAWRDOG.
GERAWRDOG.
Yep.
Cool. Bet. We're rocking.
Right on. Cool, man. But yeah, I think it's so weird. My screen just like did a thing. So I think this is good for now. Um, just so that people don't see a non-flattering screenshot of my face. I want to shout out Sugar Zeus for the $5 super chat. It says, is Mintra going to have cross-chain NFT features such as Ghost Market? I will have to look into that. I've never heard of Ghost Market. Yeah, I'll have to look into that, but I appreciate the super chat. Someone in the chat says crypto or real estate, both. Yep.
Agreed.
Smash the likes. Love from Kenya. Hello, hello. Hi guys. Cool. But yeah,
What
yeah, go ahead.
how did so kind of circling back to you know like PulseX and PulseChain and stuff,
Yep.
you know, I've heard, you know, some I'm a numbers guy, right? And you know, I've heard some people like saying, you know, it's gonna be like a 10,000x or, you know, some
Mhm.
super high number. You
Yep.
know, what do you think is like realistic for something like this?
I think that's
Or
a
I don't
solid.
know if you want to make those predictions.
No, of course. I think that's a solid benchmark. Like the reason people say that is because Hex was designed to 10,000x and it was marketed that way from the get-go, and it did it. So same creator. Now this is his second iteration of launching cryptocurrencies, and I oftentimes compare it to like a neural network that you train. Every subsequent generation just gets better and smarter. And so even in business, right, the more you iterate, the better you get, the more info feedback you get, and you just become better at what you do. And Richard Hart already launched a cryptocurrency, HEX, that did 10,000x. That's 10,000 fold, 1 million% in less than 2 years. And that was the design intention, less than 2.5 years. So same man, second and third iterations, arguably more hype. There are about 60,000 or more people in the PulseChain Telegram chat. It's t.me/PulseChain.com. I'm in there. I think you're in there. Are you in there?
Yep.
There you go. We have over 60,000 members in there. That's twice as much as HEX does now, and Pulse doesn't even exist yet. So we have a lot of pre-launch hype. It's arguably less gate kept as well. Hopefully it'll be less gate kept because people seem to understand layer ones better than this like new and innovative CD on the blockchain that people like, a lot of new game theory that people didn't fully grasp. And it's because it's hard, right? It's like kind of complex to fully understand HEX. You have thousands of hours of content out there explaining all the intricacies, the APY, the T-share system, the mechanisms of locking, like the truth engine. There's just so much to learn. The resources out there, but with something like Pulse and PulseX, it's easily understandable. Ethereum's already mainstream. Uniswap is, I don't know if I would say mainstream, but it's big. Does like billions of dollars in volume. So both of these have more than the HEX Telegram chat room in terms of members. And so when you say, okay, can these 10,000x in less than 2.5 years? Yeah, I think they can. I really think they can. And I think I'll leave it at that. Like HEX did it, Ethereum did it, Bitcoin did more. It's been around longer, sure, but like 10,000x is possible. It's precedented, and I'd love to see it.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. Well, I think I just lost you. We'll see if he comes back on here.
We back.
We're good. We're good.
Having all sorts of issues today. Damn.
That's funny. One question I had on I don't know, one of the two, but so they're technically getting released at $0, right?
Sure.
How are we going to measure like the multiple? You know what I mean? Because like that's the one thing I haven't been able to wrap my head around. Like, how do you measure a return based on 0? You know what I mean? And
yes,
I don't know that answer. It might be the first trade. I have no idea. Do you have any thoughts?
Definitely. No, you got it when you said the first trade. Your line of thinking is on the right path, I think. The whole launch at 0 is for a few reasons, because it really makes you think. It really made me think of like how certain things get value. And let me explain a little bit. Like, I don't know if you heard of wrapped Bitcoin.
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is, but I've heard of it.
It's basically a placeholder token that represents 1 Bitcoin that exists on the Ethereum network. But if you look at it, the dollar value is pegged to 1 Bitcoin.
Gotcha.
And it's like, okay, that's interesting. And the deeper you go in to the rabbit hole, you start finding out, or you start asking yourself, is it because they are interchangeable 1-to-1 at any given moment? And I think that's a huge part of the answer. So if something is 1-to-1 interchangeable with something else at any given moment, and there's deep liquidity to that, then like there's enough basically on each side, then why wouldn't they be worth the exact same thing? And so once you understand that a little bit, it's like, okay, well, will anything on the PulseChain network, Pulse, PulseX, all these PRC20s, which are all your ERC20s will be copied over as PRC20s, will they have any value? Well, you ask yourself, are they interchangeable with anything that has value? And at the beginning, I think the answer is going to be no. And I think that's why we have this whole narrative of launching at 0. And it also helps for tax purposes. I'm not a tax advisor, but I heard that if you receive something that's worth nothing, well, you don't pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
So like someone gives you a rock, it's not worth anything. Cool. I don't have to pay taxes on my pet rock. Thanks, government. So that's like the thesis, I guess, behind why it's going to launch at 0 and how, because it's
Yeah.
not going to be interchangeable with anything from the get-go. The only way you'll be able to connect these coins and have them be interchangeable with real world dollars or other crypto that already has ratios to dollars. Like if it's interchangeable for dollars, you already have the value. If it's interchangeable for Ethereum, well, Ethereum's worth, I don't know, like $3,000 right now. I forget. It's flopping all over the place. But then you're like, okay, then you just have to do a little ratio. If it's worth a 3,000th of an Ethereum and Ethereum's worth $3,000, then that thing is worth $1. So until we have an exchange, an on-ramp that allows you to trade Pulse for dollars, or a bridge that allows you to trade Pulse for stable coins or other crypto that do have dollar values, I think once those things actually come in, like the bridge opens or an exchange opens, that's when you'll get your first actual like value denominated in dollars.
Gotcha.
And then from there, that first trade that you mentioned, that first trade is going to be, I think, what sets the initial price. And then you can measure ROI from either that first traded price, or if we find a local low after that, like if we dip, that might be the all-time low, and we can measure from there. After that,
Gotcha.
it's just a matter of like where you want to measure from.
For sure. That makes sense. I like it. I like it. So like
Nice.
what are your favorite cryptos? I'm assuming the Richard Hart stuff from the minimum sacrifice rate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So my favorite right now is Hex because it exists and it did really well for me. And that might change when Pulse and PulseX start existing, but we'll have to wait for that. And I know we're all excited for that. And software is difficult. We wanted to launch like perfectly. We wanted to obviously not have bugs, wanted to have 100% uptime, wanted to be the premier blockchain experience for the guys who like Ethereum, right? It's going to be faster blocks, cheaper transaction fees, deflate. PLS is going to be deflationary, basically what Ethereum is trying to do with ETH 2.0. But they're taking their sweet time, so we'll beat them to market with that.
For sure.
But I really like PulseX. I love the game theory that the team threw on that. And DEX coins are pretty new. Like DEXs themselves, like Uniswap, I think 2019 is when it actually started crushing. And then they didn't launch their Uni token, which arguably doesn't have that good of game theory. They just kind of what we like to say in the Hex community is they just duct tape it on. Like they just taped it on and said, "Cool, it does this kind of fun governance stuff." When no one really has enough Uni to actually have governance power, other than
Yeah.
like probably certain core teams. So DEX coins are very new. PancakeSwap did pretty well, and the tokenomics aren't even that good. Yet Cake did like what 100x, 200x, and it just inflates and gives people cake. Like I don't
So
think there's yeah.
the crazy thing to me is like, throwing these X's around, right? Like
Yeah.
in the real estate space, like we talk in terms of percentages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I had trouble wrapping my head around. Like in real estate, if you get a 20% return like a year, that's like phenomenal. And when I
Mm-hmm.
first got, involved in the crypto and started talking to people, they're like, yeah, that might do a 5x maybe. Like it was bad. I was like, what? Like what is that a problem? And that's just something that I've had. I love it now, but it was just weird at first. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole different vocabulary, and going
Oh
back
yeah.
to the appreciation, like yes, there's a lot more appreciation. Obviously, there's that more room for downside too. But I mean, I want to be in the game. I want to be swinging the bat to get the appreciation.
100%. And it's crazy, man. Like crypto appreciates these unreasonable numbers where we do have to talk about X's. And for those who don't know exactly what that means, it's like if you do it 2x, that's 100% gains.
Yep.
So 20% gains that you mentioned would be like a 1.2x.
Yep.
So it is wild talking these numbers, and they sound unreasonable because they kind of are. Like it's just crypto does unreasonable multiples sometimes.
Yep.
And it's a function of, I mean, we could get into rabbit hole here. You could say it's because it's an emerging asset class. It's kind of a hybrid A lot of people compare it to the dot-com bubbles, where it's like these tech bubbles. The different part being it looks like certain cryptos, every time they bubble up and come back down, their lows are just much higher. Like
Yep.
Bitcoin, a penny to $30. Sure, it crashed to $2, but it never went there again. Then it goes to $1,200. The new low is not $2, it's $200. It's like,
Yep.
all right, cool. Shoots up to 20K and then it comes back down. The new low isn't $200, it's 3K. It's nuts.
Yep.
And then 69K, who knows what the next low is? 10K, 20K. But whatever it is, it's like when you zoom out, to your point earlier, like you want to be in this for the long haul. When you zoom out, even through these boom and bust cycles, we land way, way higher than we were previously. And that's only you could say the blue chips or the ones that have some sort of ongoing demand, product market fit. Because obviously, if you just hold a scam for 10 years, like that's probably not the best idea. That'll go to zero. But the gains are nuts. Absolutely
Agreed.
nuts.
100%. The funny thing is, so like when I get on stage and talk to real estate people about crypto, like I always ask people like who owns crypto, and probably like 75% of the room goes up. I was like, all right, cool. Like how many people own like shit coins, and like majority of the hands go up. I was like, how many people own real world use case coins and have more than $10,000 or $20,000 invested into it? And it's like 20 to 30% of the room. So like these are highly intelligent people that like real estate's a difficult business. There's a lot of moving pieces. So these are people that like are successful in their space, and 20 to 30% of them of successful people are invested into the crypto space and actual like real use case coins. And that like goes to me, like, I think somebody said the statistics, like maybe 10% of the US, maybe 15% of the US is invested into cryptocurrencies. And like that just proves like there's so much opportunity in the space. You mentioned the crashes, 70, 80% crashes. And I want to hear your opinion on this. This is mine. To have a long term where people are putting like real wealth in, people are putting retirement money in, and something where a lot of money is going to flood into the market, you can't continuously have 80% drops. Because if you're an 80-year-old, you're gonna be like, no, I'm not putting my money in there because I can't lose 80% of it. So my thought is over time, the more money that goes into the space, the less those drops are going to be. Yes. And eventually it'll mimic somewhat, maybe a stock market with a lot smaller drops, but over time continues to go up. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I agree on both of those points. You said that if you are much older, you probably have a lower risk profile, so you can't necessarily afford to have your wealth drop by 80%. That would suck. And it does suck. I've been through 80% drops. They don't feel good.
Yep.
Let me see. So if you look at something like Bitcoin, Ethereum, they have not been beneath a previous all-time high for more than 3 years. So it's good to know the figures to say, okay, is my time horizon more than 3 years? If it's not, maybe wait, especially if you're 80 years old, maybe wait for the 80% dip. Maybe go in there. 50% dip, 70% dip. Like you could even DCA into like a dip or whatever. And as for the reduced volatility over time, I do think we will see that as liquidity grows, as these market caps grow and whatnot, as the shit coins die out and we actually see what's coming out on top, the cream rises to the top. And I do think the volatility will be reduced over time. There's a really good YouTuber, Into the Cryptoverse guy. That's like his whole thesis. It's like, what is it? Lengthening cycles. So things take longer to run up, and diminishing returns and reduced volatility. So over time, and you see this already, like the first run up, Bitcoin did 3,000x, so 300,000%. And then it dipped like 90 something percent. And then the next run up, it wasn't 3,000x, it was like 100 or something like that. Wait, was it? Something like that. Like the run up from 200 to 20K, it was 100x. And then it didn't dip 90+%, it dipped 85%. So you see it go up less, you see it go down less. And even though these numbers are still huge, you see them be dampened over time if you do the math. So maybe the next run up isn't 100x from the 3K low. Maybe it's maybe it's not a $300,000 top. Maybe it's a $100,000, $150,000 top, $200,000 top for lucky. And then maybe the next dip isn't 85%. Maybe it's 75. So I do think we'll see that over time, but for it to get to a point where it's not dipping more than, because what is it like in real estate? What's a nasty dip? What's like a bear market in real estate? Like 40, 50%?
I mean, that's like end of the world. Like 10 or 20% dip is like people are like freaking out.
Yeah,
It's again two entirely different worlds right now.
right. Okay. So yeah, like for it to get to that point where a 20% dip like gets people running for the hills. And I think the stock market's similar. Like
Yeah.
whenever you see it go down 10%, everyone's like losing their heads. And
Yep.
it's so foreign to me, which is weird because the crypto stuff is so foreign to like people who've been in the game for a while.
Yep.
So it's this weird dynamic there. But for it to get to that point, I think it'll be a while for crypto to get to that point where it's low volatility and like really diminished returns. No, I
Yeah.
don't know. Long-term play though.
I agree. I mean, I think that's
Yeah.
10 years out.
Mhm.
People like ask me, what about this? How's this going to do? What about tomorrow? Like, I have no idea. I don't do TA like today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. I have zero clue. 5 years from now, I have a pretty good guess of where it's going to be,
Mhm.
which is higher than what it is currently. But like, if people are investing like for the short term, there's a lot of risk, within
Yeah.
crypto because you have no, it can literally drop. My first 30% drop, I was shook.
Mhm.
I don't know, a little bit of money in the space. And, I lost, 20, $30,000 overnight. And I was like,
Mhm.
wow, like this is different. But like after that one, I'm
Very.
like, well, here we go again.
There we go. It makes you more resilient for sure
For
to
sure.
just seeing your wealth flop around, strip off a zero tomorrow, yesterday, add a zero tomorrow. Just
Yep.
not for the lighthearted. That's for
Yeah.
sure.
Honestly, I don't even look at it anymore. Like I look at it
Nice.
maybe 2 or 3 times a week at this point. So I'm assuming you do a lot more because you're way more in the space. But like if you sit there and look at it and you're
Mhm.
a somewhat passive investor, like you
Mhm.
will drive yourself insane.
Yeah. Yeah, you will. When you find yourself looking at 15-minute charts, that's when you know you've been on the computer looking at charts too much. But I mean, I don't look at the charts every single day, especially like when things go sideways, like what has Hex been doing? It's just been going flat at like 20 cents
Yep.
for a while. So it's like, okay, well, that's kind of a boring chart to look at. So you kind of just naturally look at it less. And then you get into the whole like sentiment cycles where whenever it starts getting boring, that's probably a good time to start looking at it because it's like going against the grain, sort of when everyone's selling. Okay, it might be a time to accumulate. Um, but yeah, definitely don't look at the charts every day. Like we said earlier, learn the figures that
Yeah.
crypto, ETH, BTC never had. You know, they never were below all-time highs for more than 3 years. Something like Hex, if you do the math on it, it hasn't been beneath all-time highs for more than 6 months. So it's on a faster cycle, arguably. Remember checking a while back and noticing how it does seem to be on this kind of higher frequency. It has these huge tears and then it has its 60, 70, 80% dips. But instead of taking a year like Bitcoin or Ethereum, it does them in like 3 weeks or 3 months. And you could argue the cycles are getting longer with Hex 2. For example, this dip we saw was the longest dip we'd ever seen.
Yeah.
And it makes sense, right? You don't have this just exponential curve go up forever. At some point, an S curve, right? The exponential curve becomes a line, and then that line becomes like a logarithmic curve that bends over. And so you start hitting diminishing returns eventually. It's just a matter of like, okay, when we've been in Hex or Hex has existed for 2+ years, maybe the exponential curve starts kind of bending over a little bit. But yeah, we saw a dip recently, 80% dip. It's in the game. It went from 56 cents all the way down to 12 cents, and then went up to 36 cents for the PulseX sacrifice phase open. Dipped back down to what? Can't remember, like 17 cents. Now we're at 20. But if you look back compared to just last year, I think you touched on it earlier in the stream, you were accumulating before a penny. And those were the days. I remember those when it was
Yeah.
like half a penny moves and it was huge. But yeah, just zoom out, look back, look to the left, see what happened before. even after an 80% dip, we're still better ROI than Ethereum and Bitcoin this cycle. You can see that on my site, LookIntoHex.com.
I love it. I love it. What you talk to a lot of crypto people.
Yep.
Do real estate conversations like come up often? Are there many people that are in it or want to get in it, or are they just kind of head down and crypto, crypto, crypto?
Well, I mean, real estate has this thing where you can live in houses where like you can't live inside your crypto. Can't live inside your
Metaverse? No, I'm
I
playing.
mean, yeah, but you do probably do that inside of a house unless you're just in the metaverse out in an alleyway. I mean, I guess you could do that.
For sure.
But no, like, yeah, houses in real estate have this cool property where you can actually live in them and enjoy them. And as simple as that sounds, it's like people need that. And there are crypto people that I talk to who are either well versed or invested in the real estate game. And it's definitely interesting, not only because houses are cool and you can live in them, but a lot of the things you mentioned, like the tax benefits of tax benefits against depreciation, or or even just finding somewhere to, if you've made a ton in crypto, like finding a spot to just park some of that and hedge. And even if it's not going to be mad gains, it's like, okay, at least it's not going to dip 80%, you know?
For sure.
So, so yeah, and people get into the whole, like, again, I'm not a tax advisor, but people get into the whole, like, they want to protect their crypto gains as well and not have to pay a ton of their gains to governments. So they start looking at real estate options in other countries as well. So a little bit in that space. I'd definitely love to learn more though. That's why I'm here and with the expert himself.
No, absolutely. I mean, I at the beginning, like when I first started buying rental properties, it was just for cash flow. I wanted the
Mhm.
passive residual income. And then over the years, like you realize the other benefits of it. Like I bought a house 6 years ago for 22 grand and I just sold it for 190,000. The
Nice.
first house I ever bought 8 years ago, I bought it for two and like 220 or 230 or something. And then just sold it for 370. So
Nice.
another one, 165, sold it for 370 in 4 years. So like you realize cash flow is like cool, but it's the appreciation that
Hmm.
that actually really matters. And like the biggest thing, so I bought the 18 units in on December 30th of 2021. And just on that portfolio, so the purchase was like I think it was 3.1. And again, not a tax advisor, do your own due diligence. But the way that we're going to run it, we're going to take cost segregation studies on the property, which you can usually speed up depreciation of about 30% of the purchase price. So call it $1 million. So I'll be able to write off $1 million, which will save me roughly 400 to 500 grand in taxes. Like a check I would have written to the government, I'll be able to
Hmm.
keep 400 to $500,000 additional in my pocket. So like it's like this is powerful. Like once you make some crazy money in crypto, you make some crazy money in any business that you're in. Like being able to use real estate to save that type of money, like
Hmm.
it's insane.
I'm definitely gonna need to talk to you a little bit off stream because yeah, I'd definitely like to protect some of the gains that are potentially incoming with PulseX, PulseChain. I know we're throwing huge numbers out there, 10,000x. So it's good to start thinking about these things as if they'd already happened, because you don't want to be that guy who like has all this wealth and then like, oh no, how do I protect it? I haven't educated myself. And we have streamers in our community. One of them, his name is Maddie. He talks about certain things like sudden wealth syndrome. And sure, that's the whole like mental aspect of it, but it's
Yeah.
definitely, there's an educational angle of it too, where you want to be educated on how to conserve that wealth, because you see people like, for example, lottery winners are a great example. Oftentimes they end up worse than they started off with when you look a year or two later, because they leveled up their lifestyle in an unsustainable rate to where it's like, oh, they didn't realize they had to pay all these taxes on this and that, and not realizing important key concepts like cash flow, that it's not just about, oh, I have this number in the bank so I can afford it. Like that's not a wise approach. You definitely want to do your accounting and do
100%.
your due diligence.
When you first started making some money, or first started buying yourself nice things, I'm curious. Did you
Mhm.
feel like you like weren't deserving of it? Because I went through that. Like I'm curious your thoughts on it.
Um, Not completely because I've been grinding for a while. So it's like, okay, I kind of deserve it at this point.
For
Like
sure.
I'm not like, you know, not the youngest person in the world. Contrary to some of the guesses people throw at my age, which very flattered at sometimes, but it's like, okay, so I'm gonna be that 80-year-old guy that looks like he's 30. Cool. I'll take it. But no, like I've been interested in the whole passive income thing, in the whole like entrepreneurial scene since I was what, 18. So it's been about 8 years. I'm 26 now, for those who don't know.
Nice.
And yeah, man, I was grinding for a while. Like I said, I got wrecked in the 2018 crypto bear. I kept grinding and just kept going. And, it wasn't until the last few years where HEX started actually tearing and doing really well for me. So at that point, it's like, okay, I feel like I deserve this. I've been going at it for a while, started making YouTube videos, and that helps a lot. Like when you do give back. And I think it'll dampen any of those sort of downfalls that you're mentioning now. And downfalls that not downfalls, but like the sort of um feeling
Guilt.
like you don't deserve, right? The guilt, feeling like you don't deserve what you got.
Yep.
And you just do things right, give back when you can. Especially if you started killing it early. Like if you start killing it really, really young, I could see how that could be a bigger um like the faster the gains come basically, and the less matured you are and educated at the point you make those fast gains, I can see that guilt coming in really easily. But I
For sure.
think yeah, even though it obviously would have been nice for it to happen extremely quickly at age like 18, 19, the fact that it took this long for me to actually like start having an impact on my own life and other people's lives, I think helped kind of dampen any guilt.
For sure.
Yeah,
That makes sense. That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Get some of these comments. How's your IG live, by the way? Do they have any questions?
No, it ended up going off. People were saying they're still hearing some background and stuff on it.
Oh, all
We'll, we'll
good.
we'll do a lot of Instagram together on a separate day for
All
sure.
right, sounds good. So, yeah, I think we should tell people how like you kind of got on my radar. You followed me on Instagram one time, and I noticed you had like 200 and something K. I was like, ooh, okay, important people following me. Let's go check what's up. You were into real estate, always pumping out content. Like the little digestible tidbits on real estate are super helpful. Like just these 15, 20-second clips. Like I saw a recent one where you and your buddies are like, I own, or not, but maybe not your buddies, but one of them was like,
And my boys, yeah,
$300 million across 1,000 rental properties. I'm like, whoa, these guys are not playing. Like talking 8 figures, 9 figures. I was like, okay, okay. So that's really cool. For those who don't follow you, I would suggest I put your links in the description. So go follow
appreciate
Austin's
that.
Instagram, YouTube. No, you're crushing on social media, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. I mean, it's just like anything. Consistency always wins. As long as you
Mhm.
stay consistent with it. That's how the eyeballs start. And the crazy thing is, so are you on TikTok?
I have one video up.
Bro, you gotta get on TikTok, bro. Like
Yeah.
TikTok changed my life. Like I had
Yeah.
one video, it hit 7 million people, and it
Nice.
got shared tens of thousands of times on top of that. So like I
Yeah.
don't know how many people it hit, but 10 million plus. I got like 250,000 followers in like a week.
Bruh.
And like half the people that know me off of that one video. So and it came from
Wow.
TikTok. And it was the video that you just said. I actually reposted it last week, but that was the
Uh-huh.
video that went
No
viral
way.
about a year ago that really kind of like put me
Nice.
on the map. But you got to be, if you want to build any sort of brand, you
Mhm.
got to be on TikTok. You got YouTube, which is amazing. You're crushing it there, but you got to be on TikTok. TikTok will
Mhm.
grow your YouTube as well.
Right.
I say there's three opportunities in today's world as is.
Yeah.
One is real estate. It's
Mhm.
always been around. It's created the most millionaires ever. It's always going to be around. Number two is I say eyeballs is currency. So social media, having a following, having a brand across whatever social media platform, you can obviously make money from that, impact a lot of people's lives from that. And then number three is cryptocurrencies. I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to be in a space like this to potentially get the type of returns that people are seeing in the space. So, those are my three focuses, and I'm trying to go all in on all of them because I think you spend a year really trying to build something on any of those, you can be drastically in a different place. From people think like it takes 10 years to change your life. It takes like 6 months to really
Right.
change it. That's it. Like
It really does.
people don't want to put the work in.
Hmm. I'm guilty because I should probably start grinding out some TikToks. So it's not just all Renegade then. There's actual other content.
No, it's real, bro. I mean,
No, I know.
there's
I'm just playing.
the highest, the my biggest thing is like kids, right? The highest sign up were 40 to 60-year-olds over the last month for TikTok. So
Whoa.
like it's really becoming like an everyday, like a Facebook, really. Like that's where people are
Mhm.
going to consume their content and their news and stuff.
So let's see. If you were me, start banging out TikToks, would it be just basically what I talked about on YouTube already, or could I
Uh,
don't want to just repurpose clips, or is that the move, or like kind of
yeah,
strategies?
yeah, no, you can repurpose. So like we cut up all my like YouTube videos, we cut them up, and then anytime I go out like on speaking engagements and stuff, we'll cut that up. So I think you can repurpose a lot of your YouTube already.
All
But
right.
I would definitely make like individual TikToks, just holding the phone, like, hey, you want to see XYZ? I mean, crypto a
Right.
gazillion times more than I do. So like I
Okay.
want to know what a liquidity pool is. Like I don't even know what that.
Ah.
So like even you got to
Ooh.
remember you have forgotten more than most people know in your space. So
Interesting.
take it back down to the basics because that's
Mhm.
what people really want to see.
That is a great piece of advice. Just basically break it down to, it's almost the model I used for YouTube early on because I saw that a lot of the Hex YouTube guys were just doing like really long live streams. And I was like, okay, let's break it down into like a 10-minute video explaining a bull flag. The next one is like 7-minute video explaining Hex versus ETH. The next one is Hex versus BTC, and just break
Yep.
it down into like these smaller concepts. And you're right. Like I've been meaning to get back to that not only on YouTube, but now it sounds like TikTok would be a great way to do that too. Because I've seen some of the like finance guys on TikTok, and some of the videos are kind of like you do it really well, but some people like don't do it in a way that it almost seems like very just
Gimmicky.
a little bit. So I definitely want to be careful before I dive in. Don't want it to seem that way. But I think the personal holding up the phone, those kind of videos, or even just, I mean, repurposing works, but maybe not being 100% repurposed content.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to see strategies that I could use for sure.
I mean, do you edit your YouTubes when you post them, or do you do
No,
much editing to them? Yeah, that's what I'm
not
saying.
really.
Like you're already you. You know what I mean? Like too
Mhm.
many people try to put up a front or a facade. Like I remember, that's how we connected. I was on going down the rabbit hole into Hex, and I found you and watched like every video you had on it. And like
Thanks,
you
man.
you mess up, you go up and get it something to drink, play with your hair, like it's real. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people cut out all their mess ups, all their screw ups,
Yeah.
and like that looks like fake and people don't like that
Uh-huh.
stuff. But I think if you're
Word.
just you, like you can blow up for sure.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, if you guys see me start blowing up on TikTok, you'll know who is responsible. And I agree. I do play with my hair way too much on camera.
At least you got hair. No, I'm playing.
Hey. Okay, okay.
That's funny. But what so what's next for you? What plans do you have?
Plans to have, well, let's see. We'll continue grinding out these crypto videos on YouTube because I love doing it. Probably head over to TikTok, start doing some stuff on there. Might even hire someone. Like I'm thinking, should I just hire someone to like cut up my YouTube videos and just like
That's what I
pop them
do.
on there?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So might do that.
Yeah.
Launching a NFT marketplace on PulseChain with some dudes. It's really,
I
really
like it.
cool. Co-founder of that. Mintra, for those of you who don't know.
Is that what
More
it's called?
info on, yeah, yeah. More info on that on mintra.io. You can check it out, or mintra.info. And yeah, I'm really excited for that. Because as we know, proof of work kind of sucks. Like Ethereum uses proof of work, Bitcoin uses proof of work, and that
Yep.
was the solution to the double spend problem back in the day when they found out how to have a consensus algorithm, which is like basically meaning, oh, everyone agrees based on what rule. The rule for proof of work is because we saw that you spent a lot of electricity to basically create a hash, which is just like gibberish, encrypted letters and numbers. And so it's just really energy intensive and not really necessary because we know proof of stake works instead of putting the skin in the game with really expensive electricity costs. They're putting skin in the game just with coins. So it's like that is their incentive to uphold the honesty of the network, is because they own a stake of the network.
Yeah.
And that circular sort of logic really, really just makes for a good consensus network. And so PulseChain is going to be that. So it completely removes the need for miners, which just pollute the environment. And even if some of that is renewable, like the percentage that isn't still isn't necessary to pollute. And so, yeah, Mintra will be the greenest NFT marketplace. That is the pitch. That is the kind of ethos we're going with. And yeah, the sacrifice for that starts tomorrow. You sacrifice to prove you believe blockchains should not destroy the environment.
Where is it? Mintra.com for the sacrifice info?
.info, Mintra.info. I think the .com is like some UK based like digital solutions thing. It's not us. Yeah.
I didn't even know, but now I'm on it. I'm gonna be in there.
You know, man. There you go. But yeah, there's some cool tokenomics you can read up on. Like you'll be able to stake your mint and get some of the well, look at what LooksRare does. They give back to their users. So as you know, OpenSea charges what 2.5% for any NFT sale. They just keep that. LooksRare gives it back to their users. So we like the LooksRare model a lot. So we'd like to see, revenue fees go to mint stakers. We'd like to see that, right? No expectations, no guarantees, but I think that'd be cool. There's other cool no expectation type game theory written on that site, like in the spirit of PulseX. We love the idea of buy and burn. We love the idea of volume-based redistribution to stakers. So
I love it.
What else? Yeah, that's really cool. I'm excited for that, man. Like this is something that could put my name out there in a much bigger way than what I've been doing. And it's like you can be scared your whole life and just stick in the box, like, oh, he's just the HEX YouTuber who does charts, and I could be in that box, right, forever if I wanted to. But there comes a time when you see people do bigger things and you want to do bigger things and expand out. And I think it'll help Pulse, man. I really do. It's because think about it. PulseChain will grow with the network effect. The more people that use Pulse, the more valuable PLS becomes, because the more transactions, it's a deflationary coin. So the more transactions that happen, the more fees are burned. PLS will just be burned over time, as I'm sure you're aware of.
Yep.
And so if you load up the network with huge gas guzzlers, like look at Ethereum right now, #1 gas guzzler, OpenSea. It has been for months.
Yep.
So you want to load up the network. You want to bring over the NFT guys to somewhere that's not destroying the environment with their monkey JPEGs, that they're not paying, a $200 steak dinner fee to mint their monkey. And like, it's just going to be better. Like everything's going to be better on PulseChain. So I think this could be huge.
I love it, bro. I love it. I'm definitely going to look into it.
Appreciate that. Yeah. HEX says, thank you guys for all the valuable info. We got someone saying 100% there's something real about correcting yourself, not just editing it out. Someone says you have great hair. Thanks. Someone asked, I think this question's for you. Limon Ortega says, is real estate dead? I feel like all the smart people are bearish and don't want to hold on to property long term.
I mean, I know a lot of guys with a lot of money in real estate, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right.
I mean, there's an argument that, there's a crash coming. I think that's across the board in every financial sector in the world right now. But I mean, again, like the crash of 2008, outside of like Miami and Las Vegas, like it was only like a 20% drop, maybe 30%. And that was like the end of that was the largest crash in US history, right? That's what people were pointing at. And it was 20 to 30%. So like, even at the end of the day, so we use a different strategy. We use a strategy called the BRRRR method to buy real estate: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat, all using other people's money. And we usually get into these things with 20 to 25% equity in the deal without using any of our own money. So even if the market crashes 25%, we're still net zero. We haven't lost any money and we're still making positive cash flow every single month. So, I think there's ways to quote unquote protect yourself against a crash or a downfall. I'm not buying super high end properties right now. That's for sure. I think those will get hit the hardest. But long story short, to answer your question, I don't think people are running from it. I think there's smart ways to invest, and I think there's not so smart ways to invest as well. But I don't think real estate is going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Good answer. Good answer. Much
Until the
better answer than I would have. Until what?
So until the metaverse takes over.
Yeah, and I don't know if we want to get into that because that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I think this was a great stream. We're so far an hour in. Don't know how long you were trying to go, but I think we got some good content out there for the people on your Instagram, my YouTube. But yeah, guys, check out Austin's socials, link in the description. I included your YouTube and Instagram. I don't know if you want me to. Is there any others you want me to add there? Twitter?
That's perfect. That's where I communicate the most on. So that's perfect. And funny thing, again, I didn't know crypto was like Twitter, but I ended up getting a Twitter just to follow Twitter people because I didn't know that was where you had to be in the crypto space.
So you're an anonymous Twitter person with a frog picture?
It's me, but I only have like 2
All good. I'll find you. I'll follow you on there. Let's grow your Twitter.
That's
You're going to be in crypto for the long game. That's
For
probably
sure.
the spot to be. Although I wouldn't recommend being on Twitter all day. It can take a toll on you.
That's funny.
But let me find you.
It's Austin. It's Austin Elevate is the tag.
There you are.
But no, man.
Awesome.
I think this was solid. And like I said, I definitely want to do an Instagram live, sometime later this week or next week with you as well, because I know a lot of my people want to know a lot more about the crypto space.
Oh, most definitely, yeah. I'll make sure my setup is all good. Apologies again for the whole little hiccup. You could see me earlier, and now it's just a little icon. And I think there was an echo on the Instagram, so I'll do better next time. But Instagram sounds fun. Let's get some value to your audience on there. I know there's a lot of people who follow you for good info in there, including myself. But yeah, dude, great chat. Thanks for coming and educating my audience on stuff I literally never talk about real estate. And you know much more on that. You've been in the space for a minute. So I think it's cool to collaborate with like-minded people and grow both spaces and grow the education out there on these things. I think it's really important, especially for these younger generations.
100%, brother. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, dude, great chat. Thanks for coming on, Austin. I'll follow up with you and talk to you soon.
Sounds good, brother.
All right, peace.
Peace.